All right, so it is July 20th. I'm out here in the early mornings, like 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to beat this Alabama heat. And I've got this wall here done. I put insulation up on it and then sheathed it. The back side, of course, is this barn metal. So we got that done. And I've started working on these side walls over here. Let me show you what I'm going to do. So obviously this up here is the roof, and we got insulation on there. This over here, from here down to right here, is basically the outside of the barn. On the other side of that wall is the outside. That's the part that goes up and down before the ceiling. So and then this area inside here is going to be my bedroom. So we're kind of close to the road here. So you can see the road right here. We're kind of close to the road, so we're going to end up with a lot of road noise. It's not too bad at night, but during the day, there's a fair amount of traffic on it. So I want to make sure this is insulated as much as possible, not only for cooling cost, but also for sound. So even though this already has a thing of insulation on it, these posts here are 6x6, and I'm going to build my wall out of 2x4s. So I've got 2 inches of extra room here, so I'm going to put this insulation on here, and that's going to fill there. And then I've got this 4-foot section of wall made. It's 61 inches tall, which you can see will bring it up to where it's just underneath here. So I'll have to set it here and then tuck it up underneath behind this board here, which will be great because then I can nail through it into the wall. And then of course the end piece here of the wall will nail onto that 6x6, and then of course I'll nail on the floor, and then I'll just put keep doing these in sections, because you can see I've already got shelves and stuff in here. So that will allow me to be able to maneuver these things in here and get them going. And we'll just keep working our way down until we got this all done with, again, one layer insulation that was installed, another layer insulation from me, and then I'll also be filling these in with insulation just like I did on the other walls. So there will be 3 layers of insulation between here and the outside once I'm done. All right, so that's what the wall looks like in place. You can see we put some nails in here to nail the top, nailed it across the bottom. I'm going to go underneath and check and see what's underneath on the bottom side of this mezzanine floor, to see if I need to be putting nails or maybe some shorter screws in there to hold the bottom. But I mean, it's not going anywhere anyway. But so we get some more insulation in there and just keep working our way down. All right, so here's our wall from down here on the bottom. I'm using scrap pieces of insulation that was left over, a pile there, and there's another pile back over there. So I'm using that scrap, so I'm cutting it to size. I do have 3 more rolls here, but I'm going to end up using most of that down here for the bedroom, and then out here which is will be the bathrooms and stuff. Put an extra insulation on these walls. So at any rate, what's underneath where that wall is, you can see this 2x is on the outside of my 8x8, 6x6, whatever the heck that is. And then I've got another 2x, which is basically that 2x thickness that I'm using for this insulation, which means my 2x4 is setting, right here. It's lined up right here. So there's nothing on the other side of that underneath the decking. So I'll put some screws in to hold that in place. that just don't jut down too far, because otherwise it's just a waste of a length of screw. All right, so while I was down with my knee replacement, we had the plumbers come in and they put in all these drains here for us. We got a couple sink drains there, a couple toilet drains, a vent that I'll need to put up through the roof. That's a shower. We got a sink over here in the middle, another toilet over here, shower back over there, and I think that's another sink. No, that's the washing machine. Washing machine there. Sink right there. Washing machine right there. And then there's another sink over here. So we got that done. Just waiting to come in here, and you can see I mounted this board here. It's going to be my header for my joist. Mounted that with Tapcon, or I mounted that with Titan screws into the cement. You can see the drill there, drilled that out. We got the Titan screws in there, so that's going to hold that. And then on top of that, there'll be this board with all the joist hangers. We'll put one here on the other side, and then start hanging joists and getting flooring in here. And then of course we had our septic field put in. We got our tank down there. Got some pictures in putting that in. So just waiting for all this grass to grow back. It's rained a few times, so it's starting to fill in. Little holes are forming and stuff. Guy said he'd come back after a couple months and re-level all this to make sure it's all nice and level and mowable. So that's where we're at with the septic. So I had the water guys, they had to reroute my water supply line, and in the process of doing that, I had them put a hose bib over here, and then we got a water shutoff valve, because I'll need to turn the water off to that property up over there where the house is at, where we're living now. I'll need to turn that water off, and so this shutoff valve will just make it easy. When I put a new water line in over there, I can just cut the line, turn that off, and then this will be on its own water, its own meter, and then we'll have a new meter and water line put in for that property. So, and then kind of see where there's a little round spot right there, right here. The dirt's kind of splattered over that, but there's a paint can there, and it's got a shutoff valve for the hose bib in case they ever have any problems with the hose bib. I put two T-posts in on either side of it to try to make sure that somebody can't run into it with a lawnmower or something, knock it loose. And then of course I also I took and I put some blocks and mounted it to the barn with some scrap metal there to hold it in place to make sure it's nice and stable. So one of the other things I did over the last couple of days was I put in some lights. And I put in all these lights on three-way switches, two-way switches, however you want to think of it. But so there's two switches. This switch here and that switch over there both control this first set of lights. And then I got another set of switches. This one and that top one down there controls this middle set. And then I've got another set of switches here, this bottom one, and that switch over there control this first row. So I've got these 8-foot LED lamps in here. So I've got every other I-beam here. There's a set, and each switch controls that total of 4 lights. So these two, and then these two, and then those two over there. And the reason I've got double switches here is so that if I'm walking this way, this is kind of going to be, I think, a hallway thoroughfare. So if I'm walking this way, I can turn the lights on. If I'm walking this way, I can turn the lights on or off, whichever way you want to think of it. And then my bedroom's going to be back over here. So as I come out of my bedroom, I can hit that first light switch and then come over here and then start hitting light switches as I go down and then out.